What's up, banana bunch? Bunch? Bunch?
Welcome to the Jungle Gyms podcast. What's up, Banana Bunch? Welcome to another episode of the Jungle Gyms podcast. I'm your host, Mark. I know I mentioned it last week, but I'm still not doing great, so I am shooting this live from I'm telling you it's the volume. Oh, hey, buddy. Or maybe it's my living room and I'm sitting in front of my TV. So thank you for tuning into the show. If you're listening to the audio-only version, I might recommend this week you at least check out a couple clips of what's going on here because I have a really cool thing coming up. So it's almost like you can just come off since this is how we're doing this. We had a fun episode or a fun opportunity recently to go spend some time with the doctors in Hamilton at Kettering Health. And they have a cool event coming up at Jungle Gyms for free on March 7th and 8th. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's about, he's ridiculous. He does this every time I'm trying to tape something. But we've got a really cool opportunity. And more important about this opportunity, not only are you going to hear from the doctors themselves here in a little bit, which is funny because I'm sick and then I'm airing an episode about healthcare. I'm secretly brilliant. But they actually took me into an area that was completely private, no patients or anything, and let me check out one of their machines that you also will have the opportunity to check out yourself at the event here at Jungle Gyms on March 7th and 8th. They'll detail a little bit more there. March 7th is a women's health seminar, and March 8th is an all well-rounded one for everybody. So come check that out. And you know what? Let's just dive in because I'm out of gas already. Meet the guys that are lovingly referring to themselves as the ROBO-DOCS, and I'll see you on the other side of this interview.
Think he has a hernia?
I'm going to guess no. But I feel like you could tell because he's so thin. I'm like, yeah, you can probably smell that on him, right? You know, I'm guessing no. But I'm hoping by the end of this, I'll feel confident in guessing if people have them. But I feel like
it's a new game show.
Yeah. Well, what's in your cart? This can be a thing. We could just imagine saving somebody's life as you enter the
What's
store.
your heaviest camera that he lifts? Is it like
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I have one of those, honestly, really.
No,
So
yeah,
he's pretty good.
If he does have a hernia, it means Jungle Gym's paying for the liability on it.
Ooh,
true.
This is how the episode needs to start now.
comp.
Yeah, exactly. All right, you heard that, right,
so he doesn't
Jungle?
want a recurrence?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh. Well, listen, everybody, let's dive right in, shall we? I've got an interesting thing here. I'm always doing something weird and strange in the episode, and I brought in a team of medical professionals here today. And let's just go around the room. Dr. Lichter, why don't you start first? Introduce yourself.
Sure. Yeah. No, my name's Andrew Lichter. I actually grew up here, not far from Jungle Gyms, over by Harbin Park.
Yep.
And came here, got all my groceries. Big fan of Jungle Gyms. Actually did my first date with my wife here. But the truth is, I'm a general surgeon. We came home. We've been doing some surgery over at Fort Hamilton, working on just kind of expanding access to hair and talking about hernias. And we thought we might pair up with Jungle Gyms. I've got my partners here. We've got Dr. James Parker.
James Parker just finished a minimally invasive fellowship in Kansas City last year. So they brought me on about 6 months ago. We're ramping up the robot, doing complex hernias, foregut surgeries, hiatal hernias for reflux,
Colon cancer.
anything in the belly, really.
Very cool.
My name is Ryan Grody. I'm also a local product. I grew up in Ross and Hamilton.
Cool.
Fun fact is my dad was the assistant superintendent of Fairfield City Schools for about 10 years.
Oh,
so
nice.
he knows
Actually,
jungle really well.
Yeah, did we lose the audience or gain the audience? In that?
I don't know. It depends.
Loaded.
But I've been here since 2016 at Fort Hamilton or Kettering Health Hamilton, and local boy. My wife's local, so.
I love it. Yeah. Well, first off, having gotten to go on, let's just get this out of the way, and that way people jumping in will get to see the video. If you're watching, by the way, of course, because the show comes out as audio only and video, but if you're watching along, you all were really gracious about this, about letting me actually get to, you found me a nice quiet space with no, I almost called them customers. I mean, am I wrong?
In a way,
right. But it's more genuine. No patience. It was like a nice thing where I got to actually see the robot in action, do a little demo, and learn what you guys do, or at least as best as someone like me who is paid to talk and not learn things could do.
You did good, though.
Yeah,
you did really well.
Oh, thank you so much.
Seriously, picked it right up.
Listen, I spent a lot of time playing VR video games.
Yeah.
I've been in the surgeon simulator a few times.
That was his prep work for coming to the hospital.
I was just like,
Where you pick up the saw, you're like,
I was like, I've only lost a couple patients, but they have a pretty low bar in video games. So. But no, I mean, the way I got into this was finding out that you all were doing this cool event here. So, and I read today too. I didn't realize there was a second day of it. So March 7th and March 8th are the 2 dates. The 7th is the Women's Health Seminar. Is that correct?
Correct.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
And as I understand, I think both events are fairly similar. One is just is like obviously focused on women's health, and the other one is a more generalized version. Is that right? To say
Yeah,
too?
that's very correct. The whole point is we want to raise awareness to women's health, gynecological surgery, breast cancer awareness. The other is we want to make sure people that have hernias have those fixed, because those can be limiting life factors for them to do their jobs or live their daily lives.
Sure. Yeah. And as I understand it, I mean, it's a common ailment. Sorry, I just saw my reflection. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot I'm wearing the operating hat.
You wear it well.
I was like,
oh
my gosh. I'm so sorry. It looks so ridiculous.
The hat's a little loud.
Yeah, I get it, right? Exactly.
Yeah, the shirt's actually taped. It's really the hat that takes it to the next level. Oh, dude, it's great.
I'm so sorry. We're already off the rails. No, but the hernias are pretty common, right? And the thing is, honestly, my takeaway was what's more common is people don't know they have them.
Yeah. I mean, that classic outie that you have as a kid in your belly button, you see, oh, my buddy had an outie, or my friend has an outie, or you yourself have an outie, is a hernia. People are always like, well, what is a hernia, though? It's just a hole that something else protrudes through. So for most hernias, especially in the abdomen, it's a physical hole in the muscle. And the big concern is that the hole isn't necessarily an issue until it gets really big. It's what's going through the hole and twisting or turning, like things like your bowels can get stuck in there. You can get really, really sick.
Really?
So
The analogy I like to use for patients when describing hernias is think of your abdominal cavity as a room.
Okay.
Doors closed, windows closed, walls, everything. You open up that door, that's a hernia. And things coming out of it, you walking out of that room is now considered abdominal hernia contents.
yeah.
Interesting. And so is it usually like, okay, I'm sorry.
And it's not just bowel. I mean, the most common finding is pain. I mean, cosmesis, honestly, is the most common thing, because people have a bulge. They don't like the bulge.
Right.
But pain from the intra-abdominal fat that everybody has, just that little piece of fat plugs up in the hernia. Every time they move, it pinches because the hole could be tiny, and it pulls on that, and that's from the hernia.
That, or the fat can pull on other organs, and that can cause the pain too.
Oh yeah, we could actually have our own talk show on things we found in hernias. That could be its own episode. I mean, truthfully, we've pulled out appendixes, bladders, ovaries, colons. I mean, there's
Small
tumors.
bowel.
We've actually had actual physical tumors that we've pulled out of that were on an additional organ, and it's just one of these things where we're seeing so many advanced hernias in our community. The simple outie is one thing, but then some of these hernias that, I've done surgery over in Africa, and some of these hernias rival what we're seeing even in third world countries. And I'm thinking, where along the way have we failed our patient population, and is there a way we can reach out?
And nationally, only 1 in 5 patients will actually seek care for their hernia, which means 80% of people with hernias don't ever follow up until.
Until it's an emergency.
Exactly, and that's the important thing, is we want to catch them before they become emergencies, because that can sometimes be a 2-step repair depending on the type of hernia. Is the bowel perfed or not?
Oh, sure.
The bowel has a hole in it, to be more layman's terms for some people. But that's the main thing, is we want to catch them early while they're smaller, get them fixed so they don't progress to these huge, massive hernias that are much more complex and can sometimes lead to pain down the road after surgery.
Interesting. So what do you think the reasoning is behind it being such low numbers? Like, is it just outright lacking awareness?
I think it's partly that. I think it's partly people are afraid to do it because they don't want to lose their job or lose time for work or don't have vacation time. It could be a lack of understanding as well. I mean, what do you guys think?
People just push it off. It's just like, it's going to be there tomorrow. It'll be there the next day. I'll get taken care of eventually.
Yeah, right. There's this kind of like survival bias where they've survived with it long enough. They think, well, it's been there long enough. It should be fine, until one day they wake up. They've had a coughing fit from COVID. They've had some sort of respiratory illness. They lift something heavy at their job. Something finally squeezes in there and gets stuck, and then it becomes suddenly this intermittent pain at the belly button. This intermittent pain down in their groin has something stuck in it that's twisted and dying. So, I mean, that's the extreme of what we're trying to prevent. And I think the last thing that holds people back is this fear of mesh. So our whole event is about demystifying hernias, talking about the actual interventions that we choose and why we choose mesh. And finally, some of the latest technology that's even available anywhere in Cincinnati is this robot technique that we can get people back to work faster than ever, minimal pain. I mean, how do you guys feel about it? I mean, you guys agree?
I had a patient today. I did a right inguinal hernia on last week. Took no narcotics whatsoever.
Really?
He said I barely even took 3 ibuprofens.
Yeah.
It's kind of the
In
trend.
Hamilton, no less. I'm sorry to make the joke.
Yeah, I mean, it comes at a time. It's
Save
really
them for a rainy day.
kind of a sensitive subject for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
When
No,
the
truly.
heroin
I'm sorry,
epidemic's
and I'm sorry to make the joke.
No. I mean, the joke is always funny until we really sit and are like, you know what?
That's a real
funny
thing.
because it's true.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, absolutely.
When you mentioned mesh before, can you explain it like I'm 5?
Sure. So mesh is literally just a screen. So if you have a hole in your drywall, you've punched it, or your kids open a door too quick, there's now a hole in the drywall, and you put the spackle in there, it just falls through.
Right.
The mesh provides a construct for the spackling to kind of dry into and reinforces the whole region. So we actually use something very similar. It's like a screen that actually goes into the abdomen. The very first meshes were similar to fabric and like Gore-Tex.
Yeah.
Very strong, but they were so tight that bacteria could get in them. And then we went to a looser mesh. Those would rip. We've now had 20 years of this light, loose, airy mesh, which looks a lot like window screen.
Oh, interesting.
So we use it to kind of patch over our repairs.
I actually talked to a guy a couple weeks ago who from Texas. He travels to Alaska and teaches them how to do hernia repairs. They actually use screen.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Polyethylene glycol screen.
Yeah.
Black. Just cut it out.
Right.
Put it in
Sterilize
because that's
it.
all they got. Yeah.
Yeah, there's great studies
That's
out of
amazing.
India where they've run out of mesh, or they actually even use the netting, the mosquito netting. And so the whole point is that you've got this inert plastic. It's monofilament. It doesn't react in most people's bodies.
Right.
Can't really see it. I mean, have you guys ever even seen a mesh allergic reaction?
So
Very
there are
rarely.
no documented mesh reactions that I know of. I had a patient that said he was allergic to it, and I literally brought the mesh over and put it on his skin, and
Yeah,
Nothing's
it's usually
good.
actually just an infection, and
Yeah,
they're
it's
like, oh,
usually like
you're-
an infection.
maybe you're allergic to the mesh, and that ends up being kind of a cop out. But
yeah.
mesh infection should be seen less than 1% of the time, and it is something that hopefully by using the mesh and using additional techniques, we're looking at a 1 to 2% recurrence rate by utilizing that as a product.
That's amazing. And I guess my question was going to be along the lines of the allergic reaction things, because it just stays in after that, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Correct.
yeah, that's cool.
I've never had a hernia fix personally, but from what I hear, you don't even know it's there.
I would assume
It's
not, yeah.
lightweight. And
You don't
yeah.
feel it.
Thin.
Yeah. Well, I would imagine at this point, if you've been suffering with the actual pain that comes with the actual hernia, that
Yeah.
chances are a very mild discomfort probably is not moving the needle at all at that point, right?
Well,
and the other
most
thing-
people that complain of pain after surgery is, sutures or tacks or stuff, and that's what we're getting away with using
Right.
the robot, is not having to use those tacks, which can be very painful.
So let's segue into the robot a little bit, right? And I've got some, if you're watching along, I'm sure you can see some footage of the doctors driving, and talk to me about this. Like, I mean, I know we talked about it in person the other day, but I'm going to pretend like I didn't learn about it the other day for the sake of the audience.
Well, the Da Vinci robot came about. Actually, our gynecological and urological colleagues kind of took off initially with the robot, and then it took general surgery. We're a little hard-headed, so it took us a little while to catch on. So probably 2010, 2012, it really started to take off in general surgery, and then the newest robot came out about 7 or 8 years ago. So that's one everybody's using around the country now. It's the most popular the popular way of doing surgery in the country compared to laparoscopic and open. Robotic is actually more used. It's basically an instrument that the surgeon can scrub out, go sit on a console, and the robot's wheeled in and docked into a patient, and the arms are held on a fixed point and steady, and our wrist actually use the instruments to do basically what our hands would do inside the body operating. We can use 4 arms, so we can control everything, control the camera. It's very steady, very smooth, very safe.
And additionally, the view is impeccable. So moving from two-dimensional viewing to that 3D view, really getting that extra sense of depth perception and the clarity. I hope that at some point you can refine that video where we zoom in on the dollar or the penny.
Yeah.
The clarity of view is just unparalleled in surgery.
That blew my mind so much. Well, we talked about finding the state names on the top of on the back of the 5.
On the Lincoln Memorial.
And I was like, oh shit, which one is it?
There's no Ohio.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I kept joking. It zoomed in so far that there were a few times
times where I was like, oh, they misspelled a few states and then had to wedge letters back in, because if you look at Connecticut, all of the text is the same, and then the T in the connect part is shaped slightly different and larger. I was like, oh, so somebody made a mistake. I'm like, no one's going to see this. We saw it. I know you're
We know now. We know now. Yeah.
Well, at least they know how to spell Connecticut.
Well, they learned. It's a learning experience for all of us. But anyway, I'm sorry.
Well, the other thing too with the robot is, you can basically put yourself into positions to look deep in the pelvis, high in the, thorax, where you're doing a hiatal hernia, where you couldn't before. You can only feel.
Right.
Now you can actually basically put your head in the pelvis in a sense, and see perfectly clear. And it helps you to operate down there much more easily, much more clear. And
some of these surgeries that surgeons used to say, like, if you can live with it, don't get it fixed. It's too big of a deal. And the mortality rates on these surgeries were super high.
Yeah.
They're negligible now with
No
the robot.
kidding.
Yeah.
I should impress the audience on this too. I mean, I kept making the jokes about me being trained in VR beforehand, but it really, for the commoner, that it was a very realistic, I think, way of an analogy of describing it, right? Yeah. Because you could put your face in the glass, and then it was a beautiful 3D. I felt, again, and I was in there for a few minutes just to kind of test it out. It was amazing to me how I can't only imagine how it is for all of you that you actually know what you're doing, because I'm going in there like, all right, I kind of get this. I saw Spider-Man too. I know how Doc Ock works, right? And I was like, that was kind of the vibe. And I'm in there going through the little training course and all this stuff, and was just so blown away by what it did for me, getting an understanding of the space and everything, and how it must just be huge for you all that are actually in there and know what you're looking for,
Yeah.
Yeah.
The clarity was insane.
Yeah, absolute game changer, I think, for most of us. But even beyond the surgeon, the points of fixation, better positioning for us, making the surgery safer and clearer. I think the final translation really comes in to the patient. All the benefits ultimately translate directly to the patient with, if we're not stuffing our hand in there, really moving around and being rough, we can be so much more gentle, so much more deliberate, really dissect out just the critical structures.
Right.
And the pain is less, return to work is better, cosmesis is better. It ends up being a no-brainer.
It makes perfect sense to me. Honestly, but it's nice to hear this, because I just think about my dad having a hernia surgery years ago when he lived in Canada. It was still a quick turnaround and everything, but at the same time, just hearing the way you guys have described it versus the way he described his experience, it's 15, 20 years ago now. Oh, yeah. So it's obviously things have moved along so fast. I just imagine it's constantly changing. So I'm like, there's that part of me too that's like, wow, that's where we are today. Imagine what's going to be like in 10 more years, right?
And this hernia thing, open, just for everybody who's been out there, it's not to say that any other open surgery is insufficient, or that laparoscopic surgery is somehow less of a surgery. These have been great surgeries, time tested. It's just that the robot affords us some additional privileges so that we can really get top-notch care, minimal pain, and actually we're finding a lot of other things as we go in. For me specifically on inguinal hernias, I'm finding 20% of the time on the other side a hernia I didn't even know was there.
Really?
And so we're able to intervene on that before that ever becomes a problem. So you're not coming back in 3 years, hey, I got to have another hernia repair.
Sure.
Getting them done at the same time. Same thing with ventral hernias. We're finding a lot of occult ventral hernias, which we're able to just, while we're there suturing, simply fix those hernias.
That's amazing. So, and this is such a big thing on the preventative side too, I imagine, right? Because I would guess, I would assume in general that getting ahead of any medical issue is probably going to be huge, right?
Yeah.
I keep calling them customers. Why am I calling them customers? They're patients. Okay?
I think that our boss...
I was on Twitter too long
I think
today.
that some people would like us to think of them as customers, but...
I honestly, and I know I'm so embarrassed that it keeps happening, because having spent some time with you guys now, I spent a lot of my life in hospitals because of my Guillain-Barré and stuff in my youth, and just physical therapy and all this stuff. You guys instantly made me feel comfortable, which is not too, I don't know, I feel like I'm pretty likable in those situations, but at the same time, that's a high stress scenario for a lot of people. And I'd wager that there's a lot of anxiety for a lot of people about going to the doctor. I had a conversation with a friend today. She's like, I'm really sick, but I'm afraid to go to the doctor. I'm like, just go, because it's only going to get worse if you don't do anything about it.
Right.
And so what I thought was so refreshing about, and this is for everybody that I met at your facility, you guys were really just, just courteous, but engaging, and I don't know, you really made me feel at ease there, to the point that Lucky and I, when we left, were like, I'll let those guys operate. I mean, like, whatever. I was like, you know what I mean? And like, I don't mean that in a weird way, but at the same time, I think that's such a huge hurdle, right? And you know, and I don't want it to be like an age thing, but I think obviously us being of similar age group probably helps. You know, there's and times change, and obviously you all have changed with it, which I think is really important to the audience too. You know,
I think we're really lucky that we found each other as partners to be able to. I mean,
Totally agree.
everybody's young, motivated, super chill,
Down to
right?
earth.
and we want to build something awesome.
Yeah.
We all have ties to the region. We all feel very connected to this community. And you know, you can go to a restaurant that's a 5-star restaurant. We may be the Bob Evans, but we're a home style cooked place.
Right.
You know,
I'm not getting
Like
my sausage gravy anywhere else.
You
Let's
know
be
what I
honest.
mean? It's like we may not have every
I know what
trick,
you mean.
every 5-star, but it's like we've got what it takes. We're personable. We're down home, and it's just we're gonna be the home style cooking of medicine here.
I think I joked with you guys when I was at the hospital with you that day, where I was like, "Oh, I'm always trying to wrangle passionate weirdos," and I feel like I was like, "These guys get things," you know, because you all were like genuine. It was so refreshing to have that experience where, like, and look, the doctors I work with right now are very cool, but like you guys definitely outclass in that regard, where you just seem genuinely like. Not even just passionate, but just excited to be like, listen, we can do all these really cool things, and it's going to benefit your health and your life. And I don't know, I feel maybe uncommon. I think it's something that makes what you all are doing up here at this location in Hamilton so special, and why I thought it made sense for having you guys on the show in the first place anyway. You know,
Huge thanks. For
We
letting us
appreciate
come
that.
on.
oh my gosh, of course. Yeah, yeah. Don't suck up to me too bad. That's really where I was
That's
going
fair.
at. But I appreciate it. And I'm glad. Look, I like what you all are doing. And a lot of people will be like, Mark, why are you doing this on a food show? I'm like, well, everybody has health issues. It's kind of the same reason why I'm doing a food show. I'm like, everybody likes food. And I feel like this is a cool thing that we should be doing. And I think it's awesome that you guys are doing this event. And maybe this is a good time. Oh, hey, we can wave. We got to, hey. What do we think? Hernia? No hernia?
No.
I'm guessing
I
no.
got
We
too
can't
much
see. He's
glare.
behind. Yeah, too much glare. He's
Too much
behind-
glare.
We're on a live stream. Hey, isn't it great? Yeah, it feels kind of cool, right? It's like this every day. Try eating a sandwich here. Jersey Mike's again? I'm like, yeah, it's in the building. Well, let's talk a little bit about the event itself and some things that people can expect to see at both of them. So I know we talked, obviously, the main differences being the 7th event focused a little more on women's health. But in general, are you all bringing the robot here?
Yeah, the robot's going to be here. You'll be able to touch and feel it. You can even try to beat us at who can be the fastest.
Oh, that sounds like a challenge accepted.
I would pulling back the Oculus out again.
My
You get home tonight, like
Yeah. I got my PSVR 2 shipment notification today, so I was like, it's on, boys. If it comes before the 8th,
Call
I will
Duty
still
hours
lose.
are
Yeah.
way out.
But no, all kidding aside, so I know we're doing that. Obviously, some education. Are you all speaking on this as well there?
Yeah, we're all going to speak as well. We're trying to get our mesh rep there.
Oh,
the main
cool.
thing there is people do have misconceptions about mesh, and they hear all these, lawyers on TV. Have you ever had a hernia repair and then had XYZ happen to you? So we just want to put people's fears at ease about that, and then show them the robot and how that can benefit them as well.
Yeah, because I heard mesh, and my first thought was like, it's metal, right? And I would like to think I'm fairly educated, and instantly was like, oh yeah, that doesn't even make any sense. But like, again, there is that kind of like, misconception, but you don't know,
Yeah. No, we have some with metal. I mean, but no, currently it is a plastic, and so
it makes
we're
sense.
hoping to get the reps there. We're hoping to have. I think we actually have 2 different reps that are coming. We have the actual robot reps coming. We're bringing a physical robot. We're going to have
Clark?
several.
Yeah, we do
different
have to mention
surgeons
Clark's
there.
name. He
Yeah,
said
Clark.
do we?
he said not to mention his name during the podcast.
Oh,
He's
that's
the
right.
intuitive
Yeah,
rep.
Are we talking
exactly.
about Clark?
Clark is the guy behind the
Clark.
scenes.
Clark is actually the
making
main
it
guy.
happen.
Yeah.
Clark. Wait,
just Clark.
But that was
Just
Clark.
Yeah, it was Clark.
Clark.
Clark
Absolutely.
Ingram.
Clark.
Ingram.
That guy. Right. Clark. I got you.
He's we should find him on LinkedIn or social media to ask him these questions.
No, and Clark's excellent, and so Clark is really our favorite. How many? I can't. Do
I
this
want to
now.
run. I'm going to run a
We can't
Clark
say he's our
counter in the
favorite.
corner.
Clark could be our favorite rep. Clark's one of our favorite reps.
Yes,
Absolutely,
We
we
like
have
working
great
with
reps,
him.
but he's phenomenal. So we'll have lots of people there. Our own staff are coming up to show support. We heard that Jungle's actually going to put out like some pretty nice food for us. A little bit of food
I was reading about that
tasting.
today. It sounds good to
Nice.
me.
Yeah, and so there will be no physical exams, so there won't be any snapping of gloves and donning gowns. But this is something
Unless
where
you come back to my office.
oh man, but yeah,
Oh, look forward to editing this now, right? Yeah.
But there will be our cards there available. But
Thank you.
also, what we want also people to recognize though is even though we're here supporting the robot and winning business is, helping people. We just want people to be aware of it so that they can go to XYZ surgeon and have it fixed too.
They don't even have to come to us. I mean, this is about, we're seeing a need. When I'm walking around jungle gyms and I'm like, wow, that dude has a big hernia, or that lady or that person, let's say, that person has a large hernia.
Yeah.
I just want them to know, like, hey, you don't have to walk around with that. If you need help, go to somebody. We have great hospitals in Cincinnati. We personally are really proud of the program we're building. This is not your grandpa's hospital where he went to 30 years ago.
Right.
Put a lot into reviving and just putting some life back into this hospital. It's been a great hospital for years, and even now I think we've truly, like the rest of Hamilton and even Fairfield, reinventing itself.
Absolutely. It's really cool to see. I think, look, I'm not from here originally, but I think I made this joke with you when I met you guys last week, and I was just sort of like, yeah, Hamilton was not a place that I had any interest in ever visiting when I first got here, right? And then in the last 5 years, now it's like the spot, right? Like I'm seeing all these cool restaurants happening, breweries, obviously the obvious upgrades
Spooky
to the medical
Nook.
community. Yeah, Spooky Nook's gonna be huge.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been trying
Tons
that
of
just to see.
festivals.
It's crazy. I mean, it's
Tons of
and it's so
festivals,
cool.
biking on the river. I mean, it's family time. We go there on the Sundays. So there's plenty of great stuffs down on the strip where we're
all the
getting the
festivals
ice creams, and there's Billy Yanks. I'll have to give them a shout out.
Chicken in the cone,
always a good time with
everything.
Billy Yanks.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
we've
Selection.
got some of the classics like Richard's Pizza.
Sure.
And we've
Yep.
got all the. It's just a great place.
I spend a lot of time at River's Edge now too, because they're always having concerts and stuff like that. I've got some friends that play up there all the time. I'm like, what a cool little town. And then I have that thought where I live in Northern Kentucky. I'm like just outside of downtown. I'm like, downtown's trying, but I'm like, where did we miss the boat where these neighborhoods are coming? And it's like, how do you support these communities? I mean, we're not city planners here, but I just think it is truly wonderful what you're doing. So I'm really glad that this is happening. I think I wanted to ask you all, as we get kind of near what I would assume the end of this would be, if you had like one tip, or I think tip is the right word, but that you could tell people, that you could impress on them to say, hey, maybe this is something you should be watching out for this kind of thing, like a tell to be like, oh, maybe I should reach out to my local medical professional.
Sure. Yeah, I think for most hernias, people will say, well, I felt something bulge, rip, tear, pop out, and initially was concerned, thought it was a pulled muscle. It just keeps popping out, and it hurts every time I'm pushing it back in.
Yeah.
It's just, that's something we need to know about.
Yeah. Oh, I hear pushing it back in, and I'm just like, oh, that should be the red flag, right?
You would think so.
You would think so.
Yeah.
But I think you made a good point about like the survivor bias. That's totally a thing too.
Well, I've been pushing it back in for 5 years, and it hurts a lot more now, and you're like, well, that's time to fix it.
Yeah, for sure.
You can actually push it back in. Let's get it done.
Red flag.
Yeah. If it's at that point, let's fix it now. If it's not at that point, we'll probably still fix it. But you got all the time.
Would you say there's something that is like in the lead up phase that might get you all like, maybe this is something we should think about?
I think any umbilical hernia that you can see through your t-shirt, that's indications.
Okay.
Technically, if it's over 2 centimeters, any umbilical hernia should be fixed.
Cool.
Any inguinal hernia, there's grounds to fix those.
And what's that?
Sorry, any groin hernia.
Okay, got it.
And so, if you're walking around with a cantaloupe that's swinging, it's time to get it fixed. And I don't know if I'm allowed to say that or not, but
No, it's okay. We got a few cantaloupes in here that have been swung, I'm sure.
There's also hiatal hernias that are up in the chest. If you've got bad reflux, if you've got bad taste in your mouth, have to sleep sitting up at night.
Interesting.
people sleeping on 3 pillows, they're not responding to their medications. There are these
Asthma.
hernias.
Constant throat clearing.
Yeah. Sorry, I just had to get one
Yeah,
in.
we're all
You're
we
gonna
can
check
go on
out
unison.
if you got to take antacids with every meal or even some meals.
Yeah.
Yep.
Really, and that's one I don't think I've ever even heard mentioned in the, obviously groin umbilical. I've heard those as being fairly
Those are ones that
common.
you can see on the outside.
Right.
This is one that causes problems from the inside, and one of those notorious ones that before the robot, very difficult to repair. Now, outpatient procedure.
It's insane to me.
Yeah. No more 7-day stays in the hospital with a 5% mortality. It's
maybe
home
1
the
to
next
2
day.
nights.
That's crazy.
So, yeah, no, Grody, I mean, what do you think? I mean, I know Grody's actually, we call him the old man in the group, but he's actually, he is our leader in our group. And, I mean, what do you think? You've been doing hernias longer than any of us here in Hamilton, really helped to bring this program to where we're at today, and we're taking it to the next level. I mean, what do you think?
I think we're leaps and bounds from when I started. I mean, when I first started our scopes in our hospital, it felt like you were working in Bosnia.
Really? Yeah.
They were horrible. And then now we have 4K scopes. which are the top of the line, and now we have the top of the line robots. So I think where we're heading, the direction we're heading, is fantastic, and we've only scratched the surface.
Yeah. And from what I'm hearing, there's only 2 in Butler County, 2 hospitals in Butler County with the XI.
And that's the model you all are
that
using,
could
right?
be,
Right?
yeah,
That's
it's not
the latest
the X,
model.
the latest model with the XI.
Yeah.
And then, as far as I know, we're the only one who's also doing after hours and weekend robots.
And the only hospital with every surgeon trained to use
Trained
a
to do the
robot.
robot.
Oh, that's got to be a huge thing.
Yeah.
That's how you can offer, I guess, the extra hours and all that stuff.
So that's our big push. We're really trying to say, hey, this is where we see value. This is where we see our niche for providing academic level care if possible to our surgical patients.
It's beautifully said. I love it. Okay, so to be clear on the event coming up again, we're March 7th, March 8th, Women's Health March 7th, General Health March 8th. Is the event free?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Cool. That was the
free. We're getting it up in the event center. It's going to be several different professionals there. You'll have the opportunity to talk and ask questions. There will be brief presentations. This is supposed to be a fun event, family event.
Yep.
There will be other Kettering employees there that may not even be patient or physicians, but people who are on our team, like our surgical first assist are there. Everyone's there, is really excited, ready to answer questions to anybody. And then, bring your friends, bring your family, bring your kids, get on the robot, just come out to have a great time.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably, in my opinion, that's got to be the easiest way to get everybody calm and relaxed about this in general. Yeah, bring the whole family out. I think I'm coming out for a little bit at least. Heard a rumor I could be your MC, actually. I don't know if that's a thing yet, but,
We would love it.
Yeah, I mean, I would love it too. Are you kidding me? I was like, I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, as long as you wear that coat.
Oh, yeah, I had
get
to. It's my
surgical
Jungle
hats
Gyms camp.
with
Yeah,
that pattern.
Yeah, can we actually get this pattern?
Yeah, I think we can
And
make
we're
something
gonna
great.
call it like
Yeah.
the robot team that's gonna be our pattern.
Nah, I'm into this. This is the official suit of the ROBO-DOC.
I love it, dude. That'd be so great.
Listen, this is our next collab, guys.
Yeah.
We're making apparel next. Listen, more than anything, thank you guys for coming out to the show. And also thank you for the scrubs, because I got a lot of comments in my DMs about how good I looked in them. So that was pretty cool. I was like,
very
ladies,
slimming.
I love you. Thank you. It really was. I was just like, oh, damn. I was like, okay, I'm still. I was like, is this giving? I believe is how the kids say it.
giving.
All kidding aside, though, seriously, really appreciate you guys. I think it's really cool what you're doing. Truly. If I can ever do anything to support it, I genuinely mean it. Come back anytime. If you ever want to, I really think we should do our. I won't spoil it, but I think we should do that thing we talked about one day. you
That
know?
thing.
Yeah.
Right.
The thing.
This is when we
It's
all go.
clandestine, right? Everybody's waking.
And Clark.
Clark
knows
And
about
Clark,
it.
yeah, Clark will be involved.
Clark has
will be
to.
involved.
I'm gonna have
don't tell
Clark.
anybody.
Yeah.
Clark Ingram.
That's right. I need him to MC that. I would like him to just do color commentary on us doing the thing. Awesome. Gentlemen, thank you so much, truly. We'll see you all here on the 7th and 8th.
Look forward to it.
Look forward to it. Thanks.
Absolutely.
That was fun, right? The footage was cool. I love that we got the opportunity to do that kind of thing. What an amazing experience. And I hope to see all of you there March 7th and 8th at Jungle Gyms here in Fairfield for this event where you can learn more about it. I see Morrison sniffing the tripod, so this is probably about to end bad. So let me just get out of here and go back to sleep. I will eventually be back in full speed to all of you soon. I miss you all. Thanks for watching the show. Thanks for supporting the show. If you're listening to the audio version, thank you so much. If you're tuning in on YouTube, it means the world to me. I've got a couple of video ideas I've been cooking up in my downtime, so hopefully those come to fruition soon. Okay, on that, I'll see you out there in the aisles.
The Jungle Gyms podcast is recorded in the WJJI studio inside Jungle Gyms International Market in Fairfield, Ohio. The Jungle Gyms podcast is produced and hosted by Mark Morrison.